Welcome to another episode of The Raw Truth. This will make my 9th episode without my brothers. It's kind of tough not having a back and forth. Though everything I have to say is just common sense, it does help to have a back and forth, even if everybody agrees. Today we'll start off with natural stupidity. Best way I could put it. Because here's the truth. Even if the conspiracy theories are right, that BLM wants to take over the world, or take over the United States, and get rid of, the quote-unquote people in power. We'll just say that, for argument, that's true. That can't happen. And not that I'm against it or for it, but it literally can't happen. Even if we get Trump out of office and Biden's in there, and Biden's in, now we can take over. That's not how it's going to work. There's so many more people in power that would be against that kind of uprising. So to think that anyone could uprise in that manner, or any one group to taking over the United States, or even the power of the United States, is just lunacy. It's not even conspiracy, it's lunacy. In truth, even white people, as they say, aren't in power. Not total. There's almost every nationality and belief structure in our Congress, in our government. So it isn't like it was 500, 600 years ago, even 300, 200 years ago, where there was one race controlling the United States and everyone else just had to do whatever they said. It isn't that simple anymore. So even if any nationality, any race, any select people want to take over, it's going to have to be systematic. You can't just go, all right, we're in. That's just psychotic to think that that's how this works. And to fear that's how it works, it doesn't make any sense. To think that BLM wants to take over the United States and wipe out the, as I was told it, not my words, white race. Yeah, that's not gonna work. And not even a cocky sense, but that's genocide. One, there was a convention about that, called the Geneva Convention, preventing genocide in that manner. And the rest of the world would lose their mind if anyone were to come into this country or was in this country and did such an act. Would lose their damn mind. Look what happened after George Floyd was murdered. The world lost their mind. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but they all protesting all around the world. Not just here in the United States, not just where George Floyd was murdered. Everywhere. For one straw breaking the rest of the camel's back. So imagine if genocide was to take place on the scale that the conspiracy nuts are even suggesting could happen. Oh yeah, that's not gonna work too well. They don't want that. We don't want that. Nobody wants it. Just want equality. Why is that so hard to swallow? That the only thing on the agenda, no matter what anger speech is coming out of somebody's mouth, no matter if BLM is talking about get rid of the white people, get rid of the Mexicans, get rid of this, and get rid of that. It doesn't matter what they're spitting in anger. They're not protesting strapped with AR-15s. They're not sitting there protesting with body armor. They're protesting. Now, there's people inside that are taking opportunities. They're the same people that were causing the riots in the very beginning are the same opportunists that are poking their heads up just enough to make some noise, taking an opportunity to get justice or, in most cases, revenge. That's not equality. Yes, there's been a shitload of wrong done. But the truth of the matter is, if you want an eye for an eye at this point, you're not looking for equality, you're looking for revenge and quote-unquote justice. If you're looking for equality in the situation, then you have to acknowledge what has been done and do things to make sure it doesn't happen again. Not, you shot my cousin, so I'm gonna shoot Joe Paul. This isn't the old West. That's not how you get resolution. That's how you get revolution. And we don't want that. We want resolution. We want it to be resolved and fixed, not a war. Nobody does. Well, nobody who's asking for equality anyway. So, those who are in the protest movement trying to get equality, they are obviously not wanting to take over the country and wipe out anybody. They want to be put on the same level as any other person. And BLM is not just fighting for black equality. They're fighting for equality. But the blacks have been marginalized far more than any other race. Not that no other race was marginalized. All races that are in this country in one way or another have been marginalized. But this is about I was talking to someone, and I said this in one of my other videos. I was talking to someone and they were replaying all the data about what's been going on, George Floyd and blah, blah, blah. You know what they said to me? And it's not the first person, it's not the only. I didn't realize they had it that bad. Okay, that's proof in its own pudding. You didn't realize they had it that bad. So everybody's been marginalizing them as a people, as an American citizens, and what they've been through on top of it. So they were marginalized by being abused and treated like criminals the second they approached. Then the fact that that's been going on was even furthermore marginalized. It ain't that serious. Okay, people just like protesting. I like walking, don't you? I like screaming, missing my family, not eating a good meal, being out on the street for hours on end, sweating, screaming, yelling, being tear gassed, shot at. Oh, I love it. Can I get some more? So obviously it's that bad. Or why would people be protesting? And it's even gotten to the point where it's not just Black lives protesting Black Lives Matter. There's white, Spanish, Chinese, foreigners, meaning people that live in another country. So obviously it's that serious. But see, everybody just wants to pick and prod. I'm getting tired of it. It's this simple. They want equality. Everybody wants equality. That's in the movement. Give equality, fix the system, not put a band-aid over the system and call it about a day. For years, that's all that's been done is a band-aid. Rodney King, band-aid. Shit. Even how they resolved what happened to Martin Luther King was a band-aid. Because it wasn't resolved. If you don't resolve a situation, then you're just putting a band-aid on it. This will keep them calm. Just keep them quiet. They'll be like, I was asked, why are they still protesting? They got the 4 cops. They should be happy. Are you freaking kidding me? Again, like I said in my other videos, it's not about the 4 cops. It's about the inequality in this damn country. Country of the free to be equal. That's what that means. But why isn't there any equality? When it comes down to it, I seen it happen. Sometimes I've been part of it in the sense that it was done to me and my friends, where I watched my friends get picked on because of their skin color by the police, while they responded to me totally different in the same situation. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 times, 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2. These are several different times where they treated my friends differently for the exact same action. Jumping the turnstile, criminal trespass, which means being on property you're not supposed to be. Essentially, if we lived in the project and I walked into your building and I didn't live in that building, I'm criminal trespass. Usually they ask you to leave, you leave, and they leave it alone. If you don't listen to them when they tell you to leave, well, then they arrest you and they charge you with criminal trespass, disorderly conduct. And if you resisting arrest. All those things are legitimate if you're trespassing somewhere you're not supposed to be and you have no reason to be there. So I was treated completely different than my friends, which happened to be black, Spanish, everything but white. They were treated differently. Me and one of my brothers, and I call him brother because he earned it, we both got arrested for the same thing. The same exact thing. Where I was brought into the security office calmly and nicely with my cuffs in front of me. The cops actually threw the cuffs to me because we knew them, and he said, you know what to do with these. So they let me cuff my hands in the front. So they brought me down to the station. They asked me how I was doing, and we used to roam the halls and buildings and, you know, the tunnels as we called it. So they were about to let me go. When they brought my brother in, however, he was cuffed from behind, and they were lifting his arms up slightly and forcing him to like lean forward a little bit, like trying to lead him in a little bit more aggressive than I would have thought, but not abusively, just a little more aggressive. Definitely not the way I was brought in. And what ended up happening was we both ended up going to central booking because they linked us. And the sergeant said to me, if he goes down, I have to take you down too, because you both are connected. I cannot send him in and not you. Now, the sergeant wasn't marginalizing either one of us, treated us like equals. Now, the other officers treated us differently, not in the same sense of abusively, but he was brought in cuffed with his hands behind his back, coat tucked in his arm, hat on backwards and all messed up, and I know that's not how I left him. I was brought in cuffed on the front, and I was sitting at the table. They gave me a soda. They started asking me a bunch of questions. They didn't treat him the same way. And what I mean by that, they didn't give him the same slack they gave me. So I'm sorry to say, but That's fucked up. So anyway, I'm witnessed a lot of it. I mean, like I said, I grew up in New York City for 32 years. I've seen it all, and then some. I've lived in Pennsylvania, Long Island, upstate New York, 4 different places upstate. Trying to think if I lived in any other borough. I mean, I stayed in other boroughs, but I didn't live there. Like, I've stayed in Queens. I stayed in Manhattan several times. I never spent a night in Brooklyn or Staten Island. Just the Bronx, Queens, and Manhattan. Of the 5 boroughs, that is. Anyway, I've seen it all in all different places. And I was treated differently by law enforcement. There's no question. Every time I had an encounter with the police and my friends, they treated my friends differently. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying every cop's abusive and every cop is this and every... No, it's not about every cop. It's about every incident that we've taken place in. They were treated differently. I was given better treatment. And being that I was the only white kid, I'm gonna have to say it had to do with my color. And as I ran into a racist cop that didn't like my color, then they threatened to send me and throw me in the ghetto. Some hilarious shit. That's where I spent most of my days. And no, I'm not trying to mock Fresh Prince. He was Philadelphia. I know no one's gonna like this, but it's okay to have a racist opinion. It's okay. For you. It's what you do with that racist opinion that matters. Okay, I'm not gonna tell people how to think, but I'm gonna suggest they have a way to act. Like, why don't you steal? Why don't you rob, kill, murder, rape, pillage? Why don't you do those things? Almost everybody I know on the planet at one time wanted to break a rule. May it be rob a bank, may it be steal that bubble gum, maybe it be steal a car and go for a joyride. The impure thoughts that we have, we're welcome to have them. It's not against the law to have that thought, but it is against the law to act on it. So those who have racist opinions, they're welcome to them. That is their problem. But when they act on those racist opinions and those racist thoughts, then they cross a line. And to hold an entire race responsible for an experience or experiences you have had, it's just ludicrous. Now, somebody I know, and I don't like saying names because, you know, people don't want to be put on blast. So I'm going to keep their names out of my mouth. But they keep bringing up the mockery of that how, and these aren't my words, the blacks fight the police. Yes, it happens. But when it does, nobody looking at why. See, most people who tend to be racist think that no matter what the police do, if you just were calm and did what they said, you would never had that happen to you. That's hoity-toity. That's privileged. The truth of the matter is, if you're wrongfully detaining me, I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm suspicious because of what reason, no reason, then I'm gonna be problematic as an individual, not because I'm white. They're not problematic because they're black or Spanish or foreign or immigrant. they're problematic because they're being abused and their rights in this country are being neglected and abused in some cases. So, how do you expect anyone to act in that position? Yes, sir, right away, sir. That's not how this works. You approach me with respect and with justifiable reason, and I will cooperate. If you say you look suspicious, how does someone look suspicious just walking down the street? Now, if I'm somewhere I'm not supposed to be, I can understand looking suspicious. But if I'm just walking down the block, there's nothing suspicious about that. Now on to some other news, on a distractive news. Are people stupid? Let's see. First, Trump spends the entire time denying the coronavirus and denying its importance. And then as soon as he tells the CDC and all the hospitals, tells all the hospitals to report to him, not the CDC, now all of a sudden, he wants to throw a coronavirus briefing? Does that sound like a coincidence to me? I control all the stats. Now, I could say it's the cases have gone down when they didn't. I now control the information. So yes, perfect time to throw a briefing. And this whole bullshit approach that he's like, this is gonna get worse before it gets better. 6 months later, you're a little late. Oh, you should wear a mask. 6 months too late. He's only building up that he started believing in the virus. Now everybody's gonna start that trust him to begin with are gonna start trusting all his stats because he now cares about the virus. He wants to fight that virus, big bad boy. So now everybody believes he's about fighting the virus because that's all the news I've been seeing all day. Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, 1, 2, 3, fuck you tree. Every station, including my talk shows, like, late night, everybody's talking about this. And now some people with a brain in their head know not to take this on face value. Take it with a grain of salt. But everybody's talking about, change the tone, he's getting better, oh my goodness, the Grady, the Goody. That's the whole point. He's building it up to go, okay, these are the numbers. Now you're gonna trust the numbers I give you because I've learned the errors of my way, fight the power of the virus. So now you're gonna trust what comes out my mouth. But how do you trust the numbers that are coming out of the mouth of an individual who wishes a pedophile the best of love or luck? What? He was asked yesterday or today at the briefing, I believe it was yesterday. I'll get the numbers and information. I don't just talk out my ass. He was asked at his coronavirus briefing, people should be worried about her, and what does he think about Epstein's cohort? He admits to knowing her, spending a lot of time with her, and there's several photos and videos of him and her, not individually, but in an environment together. And he said he likes her and wishes her well. Okay. I bet he probably wished Gary Glitter well too. And for those of you who don't know who that is, by all means look it up. How can you not see through this madness? It's just, I don't believe in coincidence. There's no such coincidence that right after he gains control over the stats, now he wants to do a press conference. And now he's talking about how dangerous this virus is and how it's going to be worse before it gets better. and that we should wear masks after being the complete opposite for the last 6 months when he didn't control the results. Now that he does, now all of a sudden he's on the side of society. I've seen a few videos and I gave him a thumbs down and I blocked them or stopped seeing them on YouTube or asked not to watch them. Two gentlemen claiming there's no way, if Trump's a racist, he's the worst racist, he's the worst white supremacist. No one said he was a white supremacist. Learn to understand English. Racist does not mean white supremacist. That's racist because you're saying he's got to be a white supremacist because he's white and he's racist. That's not white supremacy. He doesn't like any race, period, including his own. He likes money. There's only one thing he likes: green bills and power. Why do you think every time someone comes after him and says something to him, he sues them, fires them, if they even suggest he's wrong? He's been through more cabinet members than I've been through blood throughout my whole body in the last 4 years. And yeah, I'm exaggerating to that degree, but it might as well be. He's replaced this cabinet multiple times. He's a racist. He thinks all the races are inferior to him. Not he's a white supremacist. Look up the definition of what the difference is. Because that's basically what you're saying is any white person who hates another race makes him a white supremacist. That's just asinine. But you know, everybody wants drama. I don't want drama. But I'm getting tired of this bullshit. I have an 11-year-old son who doesn't know what to do, doesn't know what's going on. And what I mean by that, he doesn't understand it. And not that he doesn't understand English. This child understands very well, but the insanity makes no fucking sense to him. My child doesn't want to go outside. My child doesn't want to go to the store, doesn't want to go to the movies, doesn't want to go anywhere. Now, I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about period. And it's not that he's afraid because I'm white, daddy, they're going to hurt me. That's not what he's talking about. And that's not what he's afraid of. He's afraid of the insanity outside my walls. Not knowing what to expect and when to expect it. And yeah, he's asked once or twice if they're going to hate him because he's white. But I'm talking about once in a while. Usually when a race conversation takes place on TV or he sees it on the internet. I'm not the only information he gets. And my answer to him is no, they're not going to hate you because you're white. For the most part, I wasn't blamed growing up for slavery, for the inadequacies of the people in power because they were white and I was white. I was an easy target because I had no authority. Meaning if they beat my white ass, then they beat me. Ain't nobody gonna come looking for them. Anybody in power who's marginalized them, abused them, neglected them, they can't do nothing to them. You know, you can't walk up to a cop and punch him in the face and just walk home. Probably gonna have to run. But you can't just walk home and act like it's time for tea and crumpets. No. But if they did that to me, who's coming after them? Yes, I report them to the cops. The likeliness the cops are gonna put in the effort to hunt them down is like that. I'm just gonna become a statistic. But if they would walk up to a cop and do that, it's not a statistic anymore. How dare you beat on our authority? So I was just the right color and the right lack of power. And they took advantage of it. I don't even think they actually hated me, personally. I think they hated more what's been going on what's happened to them, the marginalization of them, and they needed someone to take it out on. And I think that's a lot of stuff that's going on these days too. People are angry and they need to take it out on something and someone, and they found a cause that's worth it, and they all walked out into the street to fight for that cause. It's always the how did the government put it? Bad apples that ruin it for the actual protesters. It's only a few bad apples, so it's not all the protesters, right? If it's only a few bad apples, and go ahead and tell me it's more than a few bad apples, well, welcome to our reality. It's not just a few bad apples either. Nationwide, it's an entire orchard of apples that have either been caught, convicted, or fired, or whatever punishment come their way for being a bad apple. Even though some gotten away with it, they still were called bad apples. And they went through special training, and that's all fine and well. But if you got 19 raps under your belt, well, then you're a rapper. You're not a cop. So if they got 19 accusations, founded accusations at that, just not enough to punish, just reprimand, well then you're not a cop. I'm sorry. You got the badge, but you're not an authority figure if you are caught and proven that you abused your authority and there's really nothing they can do to you, or it's not enough to do anything to you. You still abused your authority. Then you're not an authority. You're a bad apple. And on that note, I'm gonna leave it at the bad apples are everywhere. Don't blame the orchard. Peace.